Hey folks, how are you doing? It's good to see you here today. We have something cool happening. We're gonna talk today about the new Luna from Amazon, and we're gonna talk as well about Stadia and Xbox Cloud. Actually, gonna talk about cloud gaming in general. You guys tell me if the sound is good, if video is good, if everything is like running perfect. Okay, let me know if how is everything. So to talk about that, I work in the industry. Yes, I do, and I love. I work at Asus, and we have excellent products like the ROG Phone 3, the notebooks, the ROG notebooks is great. It's great, but what about talking about this kind of devices, this kind of technologies that interact with the gaming cloud with a guy from the hardware industry like me and a guy from the software industry, a publisher. So I brought my friend here. Rodrigo, are you there, Chips?
Yes, I'm here. And what's up, Marcelo?
Hey, how are you doing? It's good to have you here, man. Thank you very much.
Great.
So
my pleasure. Great. It's great to.
So let's talk a little bit about, like, we know like Amazon just released the new gaming streaming service, which is the Luna, right? And we have for some time already Stadia on the market, and Stadia have a lot of problems in the beginning. Some people like don't really get it how it would work, or even if they face some problems of lagging for some regions and some countries, but now seems to get better and better and better. At the same time, we have Xbox, Microsoft playing very heavily on this scenario, playing very strongly with this scenario with the Xbox cloud gaming, which is kind of crazy. So how do you see, that you are a publisher, right? So you work for a publisher, and how do you see like the cloud gaming scenario from your point of view?
Well, if we're gonna divide this in two sides, I would say that we should count Stadia, Luna, and all the other options that you're gonna play like a PC game, and you have your controller and something like that, and the ones that are working only on mobile. I believe that those are two different beasts, but so far they don't have the numbers, so they're not that interesting. For just a quick example, we have, for example, on PS4, 3 million players, and we know that Stadia don't have even 2 million, a little bit over 2 million players on the whole platform. So imagine that.
How many players in total for PS4?
For PS4, we have over 3 million. Well, in total, we're talking about 120 million or something like that.
So PS4 should be around 120 million players worldwide.
Yeah, I would say something around 120, 110. And you can compare this with Stadia, which is the biggest one that we have already, in the market. So just for starters, this is a problem, because imagine that if you have a big brand, or if you have a small brand, let's say I have an indie game that is premium and I'm selling on PS4, and I got 1% of the market, so I have 1.5 million players, or 1.1 million players, and then I have 1% of the market of Stadia. You can't even start comparing, so this is, just for starters, this is a problem, because probably the work that you're gonna put on it, it won't be good enough. You won't make your money back just with that, especially the way that they pay things nowadays on streaming, which is way different from the way that they do on PS4 or
okay,
Xbox.
Let's go little by little. Like, number one, the size of the market. So PlayStation is the biggest player base today on the consoles, right?
Definitely.
So they have 130, over 100 players worldwide. That's amazing.
Let's put it this way.
Yeah. So we can say this is their installed base. How many people are playing in their platform? In the other hand, we on Stadia right now, which is the biggest cloud service available right now. Probably is the most stable, probably the most advanced, probably all those things together right now at this moment. And you mentioned they have 3.5 million or something like this, right?
Yeah, something around that.
So it's the difference is like huge, huge.
Yeah, exactly. It's huge, and think about the console in general. Like if you add up PS4, Xbox, and Switch, then it's way bigger. Because if you add up them, the streaming size and the console, we are reaching almost 200 million players, and we have the game in the three platforms: Xbox, PS4, and Switch. So we can add up there, and if we add up this on streaming, it's not even close to what we have with the smallest one, which used to be Switch and now is Xbox. So and we are talking about 50 million players.
50 million players
I
on
believe that is
where?
On the smallest one, which is Xbox probably. So I'm
Xbox
saying all
is
these numbers
around 50 million players.
It's around. Yeah, the thing is that Xbox figured that they were losing this battle. So when they were around 40, they said, "Well, that's enough for us. Thank you, guys. We are not sending the numbers anymore."
Oh, so they stopped to release. They stopped to publish the numbers.
but still, I can see how things are going with our games. So I can, since it's the same way that all the games work, and I usually say if you have over 1,000 players on your platform, you pretty much figure how things are happening on every platform. So we know that the curves are very similar, the way that things happened with PS4 and Xbox, because it's the same game and the same way people look at it. So I can figure it out. On Switch is different because it's a premium game there. They didn't want to go with free to play there. So it's a different beast, and it's way too hard to find a game there. I don't know if anyone have already experienced that. If you don't know exactly the game that you're looking for, like I want to buy the newest Mario or the newest whatever game, the Blue Balls game. Oh, sorry for that. But still, you just go after that. But if you're looking for, I'm looking for a platformer that's gonna be cool, then it's gonna be way harder for you to find us.
Because okay, maybe you don't know, guys. I should say that in the beginning, but the game is Starlit, right? That's the game.
Yeah,
Starlit.
In our case, it's Starlit Adventures, the games that we have there. So we are sort of beta testing the three platforms and seeing what's going on. I just read an article today that he said that the guy that released the game on Switch, he said that he had a premium indie game on Switch and Steam, and the Switch game made 10% of the market of the Steam game. And we know that Steam is very bad. It's really bad. So you understand how bad it can get if you don't have a big publisher or a big title with you. So you need to go. That's the literal. You need to go big or go home with Switch. So
well, that's I would say on the market, right, for the industry.
Yeah,
go big or go home.
I know that this is not the thing that we are doing right now. We are not talking about console, but I'm just comparing just to make sure that people get what we are talking about.
One thing that kind of amazed me about this scenario is like probably Xbox, they should have a closer number to PlayStation since they stopped to release the number, they published the number about 40 million. How long is that?
It's been a year and a half, I think, or something like that.
So let's say they improve a little, maybe they have 60, half of the size of PlayStation, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't go that because it's like the very end of the life of this console. So I would say that it's not selling anymore like it used to be. So that's why I pretty much like add up 10 million tops.
Okay, I got it. So, but my other point is, okay, if Stadia right now has 2 million players, right? Do you know if those players are even on the free side or only a pro? I think it's total, right?
To be on the free side. It's total.
Total. So 3.5 million players. To be compatible to be competitive, not competitive, but competitive with in the market to play against consoles, this number has to go over 20 million. So Stadia has to grow 10 times more what they have today to be able to compete on the console level war, to be considered a player.
And just as a reminder, we usually work with 3 to 6% of the whole install base to have like PlayStation Plus or have Xbox Game Pass. So it should work for Stadia too, thinking about Pro, you know. So if you're looking for Pro, no, I'm gonna make my money only with Pro. So you get those 2 million and get only from 3 to 6% of that to make sense. All this math. So think about that.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So guys, I see you here like talking. This is not pre-recorded. We are doing right now. I'm in Florida. My time is 7:32 p.m. and Rodrigo is in Brazil. I believe it's 8:32 p.m. So just to let you know, there's a little bit of delay. Okay. So EST time is 7:32. So one thing about the market on Stadia, right? So you as a publisher, you as a developer, right? An indie developer, when you look for a platform, no matter if it's Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Android, those are all possible platforms to publish a game. You have to look to the installed base, right? Because installed base will tell you, okay, I can reach, the minimum I can reach on that platform will be commercial viable to us, right? As a company.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And right now, when you see that Stadia is still 2.5 million players, and they have to grow at least 10 times to reach a viable number. So they start to be interesting for a lot of publishers, right? Imagine a platform with 25 million players. You say, that's interesting, right? 25 million is a good number. If you consider that probably Xbox has 60 million and the PlayStation now is 130, 140, around that. So it's a big lane to run, right? It's very large, and instead it's still quite small. Although we can say, if we do a preview or understand the records of Stadia so far, they start to sell the service by last year in the Founders Edition only. This year they start doing well. I mean, open the platform more by end of Q1. So they are almost reaching 1 year, but not 1 year with the free option, just 1 year from when they start. So 1 year, they got 2.5 million, let's say. Maybe they finish the year with 3 million, who knows? So that means if they keep in this pace, they need 10 years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think that's a great reference because since we tested Stadia last year at GDC, the Game Developers Conference, and they released this a little bit after the GDC, and I saw the Switch release during GDC also. So I have the comparison, like how things happen with Switch and Stadia, and it's not even comparable. You know, it's two different beasts
in terms of market, right? Because you have a base of players.
Yeah,
it's huge. Yeah,
exactly.
So do you think this is one of the problems? Do you think this is one of the problems that Stadia don't have too many titles right now?
Yeah, exactly. That's the main problem. The thing is that when Switch released, they had Mario coming right away, so this sold a lot of Switches, and we all know that the new Zelda was coming, so this was a big trend because they released this like 6 months, 6 months before the game, the console release. And what's the big title for Stadia? You don't have one, and it's very unlikely that
because they don't have a history, right? They don't have a history. Not only
that, it's way more complex than that. Because think about this: you have, let's say that in the next year they will have like magically 20 million players, and to showcase the Stadia, they would have to do a game that is way better than anything that you ever saw in PS5 or Xbox, the new Xbox, or any other console. That it would spend a lot of money just to make the game, just to look amazing. and the cost of making a game like that would run around, I would say, like 300 million, 500 million, 500 million, something like that, even 600 million
Dollars.
and
Okay.
and you don't have the stall base. You would have to have every single player buying this game at $70 to make sure that you make the money back. Just that.
I got it.
You see that
I got it. So, but you say that the math doesn't make sense, right? But
yeah.
Let's say that, because now we just got the news, right? Like some days ago, Microsoft, they bought Bethesda Studios, right? Which there is a bunch of games, a bunch of games. Elder Scrolls, even Doom Eternal is there, Doom franchise is there, and many others. There's so many.
That's true.
It's a big studio, right? And that's a way to say, hey, this is mine now.
Yeah, but it's different, you know. Doesn't matter. Let's say I buy every single game ever made from Atari or from Activision or anything like that, and you put it on Stadia. Stadia isn't about that. Isn't about having the cool title. It's about having the cool something else, the new stuff, something that no one else can do. And we all know that they can do something very different.
I know. But you jump ahead. Because I was going to put to you, what if Stadia, because Google has a lot of money.
Yeah, that's
as much as money as Microsoft or even more. Okay?
Probably more.
So Google can come to this game, to use the right word, and play in a more harder way, play like on the hard mode. And if they want to play in the hard mode, they can buy other companies, just like Microsoft did with this Bethesda, because it's huge, right? So they can go to the market and say, okay, we are open to business. Let's buy Activision. Or let's buy Ubisoft.
Okay.
Right? So I'm not saying those companies are for sale, but you know, it's so much money those guys are talking about, right?
They're definitely not.
Yeah, definitely not. They have their own business. But or Epic Games. Let's say that Google say, okay, I want to buy one of those guys, and I will make sure that when those guys release games on Stadia will be first, or we'll have some exclusivity for a short period of time. So just to guarantee that first, games will be on the platform. Number two, when they release a new game, this game is available no matter which game they're releasing from that developer. Number four, they start developing something exclusively for Stadia.
Okay. So, still, we need some heavy hardware inside the company. We need to change all that.
Agree.
We need to create a new game engine to run on that, which won't be Unreal or Unity or anything that we have already. So it's interesting to have a company that has its own engine. Think about that. Like, we need to think different. Think about PS3, for example.
You think this is a good option, right? It's an available option. Definitely. It's a good option because we know even if Google buy right now, let's say they buy Activision, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And there is a new Call of Duty. Okay. If they want to develop something special for Stadia that only Stadia can do, because it's a cloud gaming based service, right? This will take at least 4 years just to have a new game on whatever new they develop, because that's the time needed to develop a AAA game from the scratch. Correct?
Exactly. That will demand all of that and all the hardware that they have, and put like 1,000 players at the same time what they can do, because they have something amazing going on, like with all the servers in there. So I would say that it would be awesome, but it's so hard to reach something like that. I look always to Apple, which is supposed to be the biggest one on the playground here. And they release Apple Arcade, for example. And what they did, they talked with the developers and said, well, how much money do you want to make an exclusive game for me to make this happen, to make arcade work? And that's what he did. And still not happening.
So maybe that's
sort of,
maybe it's not like one direction only. Maybe like it's a combination, right? But there is one thing that is very interesting on Stadia business model, on the cloud business model, cloud gaming, is the accessibility, right? How much you pay to start playing. Like on the console war, you have to buy a console, and then you have to buy the games, and then you have to get subscription of some kind of pass if you want to have the same way of Stadia Pro. Let's say in this way.
All true.
Right?
All true.
But if you have a computer, if you have a smartphone, the idea of cloud gaming is you don't need to buy hardware or super expensive hardware to have super cool games running with you. So you can buy the games for sure. You can sign the pass for sure, but it will be available right away for you. So
yeah, but still we know that we're talking about US and Europe and Japan.
No, but to be honest, I think even though, you know, like if you look for the Hutch, for instance, they are a very interesting Hutch is very, very interesting business model for mobile games, right? Running on cloud. True. So they are another kind of a competitor. They don't face or they don't look to AAA. They look to mobile gaming, which is different. This
and I have.
In the other hand, it's really, really interesting, right? Because it's trying to reach this market of cloud gaming somehow, but low-end gaming demands.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So this is a different direction.
I have flash news for you. They tried to sell the company like couple of months ago, like
and didn't
internally.
Work.
No one wanted to buy it.
I think it's a very complicated business because mobile gaming actually, when you talk about mobile gaming on smartphones, they don't demand too much. They are ready to play anywhere. So that's not a big problem to be solved if you want to play everywhere. But on the other hand, AAA games that you usually see on consoles like PlayStation 4, now the new PlayStation 5, the Xbox X Series or Xbox One, whatever you call it, and AAA PC games that before you need a lot of hardware, very expensive hardware to have, you know, the price per value of graphics and game playability. Now you can have that paying way less to entry on that arena, to be a player on that arena. So that I think that's the promise of cloud gaming. Not only play anywhere, but take you away from the burden of buying hardware to player, extra hardware to player, or certain hardware to player. No more hardware platform anymore. Just the game and you as a customer.
Yeah, that's true. It should work. It should work amazingly, but I believe that we are looking to the wrong place, like just the tech and not the whole thing. As I was saying before, I made a comparison with you about EM Kinetic, which is it's a way of moving things in space that NASA is testing. It's been 20 years now, and they're just doing that just because they have to, just to say that this doesn't work. And I would say that, for example, launching Luna, it's something like that for Amazon. They have the hardware everywhere, the servers and all that, and they just need to everybody's doing, we have the hardware, we got to do this stuff, because if we don't do this, that's a problem for us, because if it works, we come there late, and if it doesn't, at least we know, well, we tried and it didn't work, but all the shareholders know that, well, at least we tried, and we knew that it could happen because everybody was looking for that, something like VR and anything like that.
So we think that, okay, we are jumping on Amazon Luna now, right?
Yeah, true.
That they just released the information. They don't even open to sell the service itself. Like, I subscribe for the service as a beta tester or something like this, but they say they have 100 games right out of the box, and it's kind of
not
crazy.
Hard to have that.
Really,
it's not really, because consider that Apple said the same thing. Apple said, well, we're gonna release the Apple Arcade with 20 games, and then everybody said, what? Just 20 games? And then suddenly they snapped the finger and said, well, it's gonna be over 100 games. How come? Well, they just bought a bunch of trash that, not trash, don't get me wrong, but you can talk with UB, Gameloft, or anything like that.
Not top tier products,
exactly.
Like you mean.
And say, well, I want to have all the Raymans that ever happened. That's a lot of games. I want to have all the whatever. franchise. We're gonna release all the FIFAs that ever have made. So you have from FIFA 20 to FIFA 1990 something. Well, I know that this is not how this works, but usually you can get that. It's different from what Stadia did. They just released like 6 indie games and top tier indie games. So it's different, They made a deal, and for the indies is good because the indies will gonna have a huge impact because they are the first comers, and they're gonna say, well, it Stadia for us was great, so come on board, and then it's gonna have somewhere whatever coming a lot of indie devs, so they'll have a lot of titles but not the exposition that they need, and since they don't have a great amount of player base, it's gonna flop for the other indies. But the 6th one, the pack of 6 is gonna be great.
See, and when I look to Luna right now, because like what I'm seeing right now, I see this cloud gaming arena is expanding. Right before, everybody doubt about it because the experiences we had are not good, right? And then we start to see some movement from NVIDIA with GeForce Now that was interesting. Then we start to see some movement from PlayStation Now, and then we start to see Xbox, but Xbox saying but not doing, just showing but not giving you the chance to put the hands on. And then suddenly, boom, Stadia, from a different competitor, from a different industry, just coming and saying we are now part of the gaming world. And now it's happening again. Because after Stadia, we saw the impact on the market after Stadia. Even with all the problems, even some of the influencers saying shit just because they don't understand right in the beginning how this will evolve.
How this works.
Right? And then they just say, okay, this is the final product, we'll never change it, and I don't like it. And then they try again and say, no, it changes, it's better now, for sure, it's evolving. That's the beauty of cloud gaming. You can change everything from the server side, and then the experience will change on the other end as well. But
not that we can do this with just so you know, for everyone that is playing on console, we do this kind of stuff on console.
Oh yeah, you told me.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we can do right away. You play a level, and we notice that the players are having some sort of problems in level 20, something like that. You can just change something on the server, and it works. You can do this kind of stuff with the ROG Phone, for example, playing Solid on Wheels. We believe that the game is too hard, or some graphics ain't working for you. We can change from server, and bang, it's already there before you update the game or anything like that.
So yeah, but I'm talking about the back-end technology to make available is a little bit step further than the game itself, right? Because once you change for a lot of servers at the same time, which is the base of the gaming functionality and technical side of the hardware, how it works, how it interacts with the game, how it interacts with the end user, how this middleware works as well. So what I'm trying to say is now we see another company that wasn't part of this game, not part of this industry, say, I'm jumping in.
Yeah.
Which is Amazon
because
with
they
Luna.
Have the hardware.
They not only have the hardware, they have also the software. Because part of the cloud gaming is AI. There's a lot of artificial intelligence playing on the cloud gaming scenario to train the hardware, to train the software, to provide pre-rendered stuff and assumptions and prediction of what's going to be the next move of the player. So Amazon is one of the few, together with Microsoft and Google, that has this capability. Not only the servers everywhere, but also the people who can program and create the back end on that. Come on, they have the Amazon Web Services, right? So they have the capability. So now we have a new player. So now, to be honest, in my opinion, we have three players that are big ones, and they can make it happen. It's Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. And they are playing the same scenario, the cloud gaming. But we don't see Sony moving in that direction that fast.
I'm so sorry. I need to get this
one. I know, go there. So
I'll be right back.
I'm going to show something for the people here, right? Okay, guys. So for those who are not familiar, this is my ROG Phone 3. Okay, I'm in the dock, but just for charging, and I connect the Stadia controller to it. Check that. Okay, so I can play a AAA game right from my smartphone. I'm being serious about that. Look, this is a AAA game in a smartphone, running in a smartphone. Check that. So it's now loading, and will load super fast because, come on, this is a cloud gaming thing, so it's just streaming to me the image. Actually, I'm not really playing locally here, which is cool, right? So it's loaded. Let's go for the game, and here I am. And I'm literally, I have to show this to you guys. Look, going backwards, going forward, and changes stuff. If I jump, and if I press here. Okay, so just to let you know that I'm playing this perfectly on the Stadia controller and my smartphone. You are actually seeing I'm playing on the smartphone. And that's the beauty of cloud gaming. You can play anywhere. And that's something that is kind of crazy, right? Because imagine this, like if you are playing everywhere, or you can play like in a smartphone, a AAA game, it opened the doors for something else you can do with more games, and you can have better games, and you can have people that you can play that before you couldn't connect. And this is cheap if you compare to the hardware you have to spend to buy a console. And here I'm just playing my smartphone, so I don't need to buy another console. In this case, because I have this base, I can broadcast the image here to a bigger monitor or even a TV. But if I want to play on TV, I don't need to have this kind of base. I can have solely like a Chromecast Ultra and play on TV. So this is one example. But let me go back to ships.
And we're back. I'm sorry for that.
No problem. So, but just to make clear, because sometimes I think people get confused. We have new players now. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And those guys are trying to prove a different way to play in the market. And for sure.
And I was about to say that a funny thing about Amazon is that they have a lot of games running inside their servers already. And this is a problem that when we make deals with China, for example.
How that works?
Because, for example, let's say we have a multiplayer game or something like that. Usually, you can run this inside the AWS. So it happens, and it happens really often. So considering that, usually when you're making deals with China, they usually say, well, we like your game, but if this runs inside the Amazon stuff, we won't use it. So you need to build something that runs here inside China to make it work. So it's important to do in the right language and all that. So it's crazy that they already have the data. They already have things happening, not only on the server side, the backend, or sometimes some gameplay or things like that. We had a game called Friend Fighter that we had a lot of pretty much the whole game happening inside the server, all the AI and everything like that. So it's funny that they're coming because probably they know the data that is coming and going inside their server, so they pretty much know how things are happening inside of it. So I would say that it's way easier for them. Easier than if it was.
Probably they have a lot of data already on how those things work, or how many players, or what kind of bandwidth they need for this and for that. And for sure, it's a good starting point. But having a complete cloud gaming ready, just like they have now. So let's go back, like when Stadia say I'm exist and I'm available. That's October. That's October when they start to make the service available. And now we are in September, almost a year after. And then Amazon say, I'm exist and I will be available very soon.
Yeah, that's true.
It's very fast.
Yeah. Although I have the feeling that Stadia kind of was like that. I don't remember exactly how did it happen, but the feeling that I have is that they sort of made a press conference inside GDC, but they haven't said that they were about to release the Stadia there. But it was something that came up in like 2 weeks. And I remember talking with the guys that I know from the industry that they were saying, well, they tried to get me as CEO or something like that. And it was something that was happening, and it happened really fast, really, really fast. So I don't know. It makes sense considering thinking about Stadia. I thought that this kind of happened in 4 weeks. And the main difference is that all that buzz that happened with Google Stadia didn't happen with Amazon. So with Luna. So maybe they are getting the wrong guys to run this stuff. This is a bad thing.
Well, that's something we're going to see, right? Because they are making available in less countries so far. Like Stadia start with 15 countries. And what I'm eagerly waiting to see Stadia go into underdeveloped countries where the price of consoles are too expensive for people, and providing a service like Stadia can be a blast in the market to provide very quality games and increase the base of players they may have, especially the free version, which is kind of amazing. So, but talking about market is one side. I would like to jump from market to how it works on the background. Because you are a developer, right? And and you can tell us how Stadia work on the background on details. Can you explain to us how this works? Because I read a lot, I know a lot, but I want to listen from you first.
Well, as you mentioned, you know a lot. So it's pretty much how this works. We usually do a game that we can say that it's divided in several parts. We usually have the engine side that runs the things like marionettes, like say how the player will run,
like
and how
small puppets, right?
The puppets, some sort of puppeteering, saying that how this is gonna work, and the physics, and how we're gonna handle this kind of stuff. And this is usually really expensive for the hardware. And in the other hand, we have what the players really see and what they actually enjoy. Doesn't matter how crazy is the physics that we are doing. What matters for them is how it looks. So this is pretty much images and triangles being rendered on the screen. On any other streaming size, we usually display this on dots everywhere. We need to render this like 4K, 8K, 16K, whatever it is, and we need to display every dot on the screen like 60 times in 1 second. That's the idea, or 120 dots frames in a second. So this would never work if it was supposed to be like this. So what they do, they pretty much divide those things with their SDK, and then they see how things usually render. They block things on the screen, and they download things separately. They pre-download all the images that you're supposed to see during the gameplay, and then they only handle the input and output of the physics and things like on the screen. The rest is pretty much already on your screen happening, and on your computer happening and being rendered. So this is the main difference.
Like how they do that on the Chromecast?
On the Chromecast, they pretty much the same way that they do with any of the hardware, like even the simplest. The thing is, you can't do in very, very simple hardware, because you pretty much need to download the big files of assets, the art that you're gonna see, the HUD and things like that. It's not like pre-rendered, so it's pretty much the RAM needs to work pretty well to make this happen. Even if you're talking about the TV or anything like that, or the Chromecast, that's pretty much the big problem that they usually have. But nowadays you have so many hardware with a big amount of big chunk of RAM.
To be honest, Chips, I have like the Chromecast Ultra, right? And when I'm playing on TV, I play on Chromecast Ultra. Sometimes I play on the computer. Sometimes I play on the smartphone, like I was playing like a minute ago before you come. I can understand there is processing power available on notebooks or smartphones a lot. Maybe not enough to run the entire AAA game, but good enough to play a part of it. But when it comes to Chromecast, I know they put on the Ultra because Ultra is the only one that does 4K, but they don't have too much processing power there, right?
But it's not about processing power. It's about how to handle the RAM. You gotta use that 1 gigabyte in a smart way. So you pretty much zip it, package all the art that you need, and then this is the main thing that you need to do. The rest is pretty much pre-rendered and pre
also
calculated.
So they send a part of it. They send a part of it for the local machine. It's not. Yeah. It's not everything. It's just a small part of it that probably is more related to where your eyes will be all the time on the screen.
Definitely.
Right? Because I was reading some articles about it, and one thing that they talk a lot about it is how the machine learning with AI are playing on that, and they divide the screen in several small blocks, and they use a lot of prediction and fetching for trying to predict the next move. So everything is like on the peripheral vision around where your eye should be in that moment on the game. They try to figure out what is the next step by all the information they have from other players, and they kind of pre-render everything over there, imagining that's the way you go on the game because previous players went on that way on the game, and they send you something that don't need to be rendered again. It's rendered already and catalog on that space, on that block on the screen, so they don't need to rerun everything. They catalog every single spot in different moments of the game, and they just say, okay, he's going that direction, here goes, take it, here goes, take it. If something goes wrong, then they have to redo that, and the machine is available to redo that, but then we can have something stuttering, which is not pleasant, right? So as more people play the same game, as more instances, as more samples of different directions and prediction will be created by the machine learning and AI. So that means that less stuttering you're gonna have, and that's not related to lag itself. This is just stuttering. When it comes to lag, is like the input from the player, how long will take the output from the input reach you back, right? And I was reading some articles that connecting the controller, like the Stadia controller, goes straight to the Wi-Fi, your Wi-Fi. There's no middle layer. With that, you can gain something around 3 to 7 or 8 milliseconds, which is a lot.
Yeah, it's a very smart solution, right?
Yeah, but if you're talking about, okay, I want to have at least lower 100 milliseconds to play, right? This is a small amount. It helps, but it's a small amount. You need to improve other areas, right? To be sub 100 milliseconds, which is the ideal scenario for low lag playing right now, low latency.
True.
How once you mentioned to me how those layers interact, because I noticed in one game from Stadia that is clear there are several layers, because I saw the layers being, loaded on the screen, one after the another.
We always had the layers in a way, because we have the what we call LOD, which is the level of detail. Like what you can see around you, straightforward, it's going to be rendered first. And it's going to be the best way that we can show you, and everything that gets far and far. We usually have like from 3 to 5 layers, like from things that are way far from reach. It's going to be just a small sprite, like maybe 2 sprites, like switching if it's supposed to be a full character animated, just to have the feeling that that's something that's going on. And then as you progress, you can even test this in several games, that you can move. If you can walk, you find a threshold that it will snap and become something else. So you have a full body, super awesome model, and then it's sort of degrades from level to level, just to make sure that this is how it works, and it also works how to render this. So if you're having, even if they could render everything in the same level of detail, 100% super awesome, but it's not effective and it's not useful for something that like Stadia or any cloud service. So it works, and it works the same way as if you look at the HUD or the human user display. That everything that you can see and interact with is a different layer from the gameplay itself. So usually everything that it's displayed first in the front way, in like if they had painted on the screen. This would be the first thing that you need to bring to the table. Just make sure that since this is going to be sort of stable all the time, bring this first, and then the gameplay itself, then you bring this in the second wave, and then the third wave, if it is distance or objects that you're not going to interact or it's not as important as the main one. So you pretty much need to build a grid inside the game just to make sure that everything is in the right spot of this mindset of the render. It's literally a grid. Like you have, like, imagine if you could create small boxes everywhere in your room, and then those boxes will say, well, here's a chair, here's a table, there is another room. So if you can't see the other room, we're not going to render that. We're not even think about that. That's what we call the occlusion culling.
Occlusion culling. Okay, but there's another thing I found interesting on Stadia is like the information they are sending to the player. It's also on layers. It's not complete. So they send information on layers, and the first information they send is the wireframe. The second information they send with physics already done. So wireframe with physics already done. Then after that, they send another layer, which is like the envelope of the character itself.
And
then after that comes after that comes like a low resolution rendering, and then a high resolution rendering. Is like 4 different layers. They put one after another, and they create a priority. So if some of those fail, the first one will fail is the high resolution rendering. The second one to fail is the low resolution rendering. Then the third one to fail will be this kind of envelope, where is the mass around the wireframe. And then the last one to fail, which is a complete fail, is the wireframe with the physics, right? So they can manage to have this coming back and forward to keep the game playing, running without latency. So you have the feeling it's running even if you are degrading all the layers until the point, okay, it's complete fail, you cannot play. But it's very smart in the way they do it, because they are changing. I would say the concept is still the same somehow between the processing and the screen, but the means change completely, and because it changed completely, they change completely the way it's prioritized and how this is shipped through the internet to the end user. It's very complex, but at the same time it's very exciting, because you start to understand how the mind of the AI has to think through to decide which goes first and where goes first.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it was really fun because I had the opportunity to play with the Hatch model, Angry Birds, which is a very simple game, but we played it on a VPN, which creates a huge latency, and it was awesome too, because I could play the game only with the physics and blocks before it renders everything. So it's amazing because you're playing like, okay, I'm playing Angry Birds, I know what's happening, I know how this should work, and it's working properly, but I can't see anything the right way. And then after some time, it downloaded all the assets, everything that they had to, and then becomes the Angry Birds as anyone else would ever have played. But seeing the whole process, it was very fun.
We are more than an hour talking now. So
already?
Yeah, almost an hour actually. More than an hour between us, but on live, almost an hour. So one thing let's walk to the end of this conversation, right? So I want to have some conclusions from your side, from a developer. Number one, when Stadia will be viable for you? If will. Number two, no, don't do that face though. I love Stadia, don't do that. No, I mean, when will be viable in terms of a business, you know what I mean? In terms of a business, when will be attractive? What is missing? What is missing? That's what I'm saying. Number one. Number two, do you think this model is the future? And number three, would you bet this model will win sometime in the future? So are three things. Number one, how is that viable, economically viable? What is missing to be economically viable?
Okay. To be economically, the good thing is, they can keep this running forever because it's gaming and they don't need to ship a new hardware or anything like that. So it's very unlikely that the joystick will gonna have a big change in the next 15 years, 10 years. I said unlikely. It could happen, but it's very unlikely because we can do so much with our simple hands playing. So I would say that the joystick will be as always the same way, and we can keep improving the service on the server side. But still, we need to reach a good amount of players, and they have to have an interesting game. So if they don't reach at least 50 million players, 40 million players, it's gotta be a big flop.
Do you think that the threshold is 40 million?
Yeah, I would say that. It's hard to make this work with less than that, because it's a lot of humans thinking in a different way. We saw, like, for example, Fall Guy happening right now, and I don't know the numbers, but I know that it was a trend.
Yeah, it's a huge trend. Yes, but it's a very simple mechanics. It attracts people because it's fun.
Exactly. So let's think about something like that. Something that indie super cool happens on Stadia, but the ceiling is like 5 million players. So what? If you make, because it's gonna be, let's say it's a $60 game, a $50 game. So they're gonna make $250 million because they reach every single player there and they bought the game.
I got it. So Stadia will only be viable around the number of 40 million players. So then it can be sustainable as a business and also attractive for publishers because the number of players is attractive. It's a good amount. Exactly. It's a good critical mass of players that you can bet as a developer by your own and say, I have to be in that platform because that platform has the number of gamers I need to secure my investment.
Yeah. And think about that like this. If you have a deal for PS Plus, for example, you know that every month 2 games or 3 games come for free on PS Plus. So it means that every single person that has the account can download the game and play the game, and we're gonna be paid a very close amount of money just to get the game there. Still, you don't have the 100% of the market of PS Plus. It's for free. And it's there, and they're saying everywhere you can download this game for free right now, and people don't buy it, don't get it
because they need to be attracted by it. It's the same with Stadia, right? Like I'm always claiming all the free games on the Stadia Pro, but doesn't mean I'm playing them all the time. I just don't want to miss the moment, and I want to play later if possible. But sometimes some games I don't play because I'm playing something else and I'm spending some time on something else. I cannot play all the games available, but it's attractive to me as a player, as a consumer. I hate this word, but it's very attractive to have those games being available for free on the Stadia Pro, and I can claim them and have the feeling that I'm improving my gaming library. So this is important as a consumer, but I understand your point on the publisher side. Like, okay, publishers will only jump in with the money from their own pockets in the moment that Stadia reach a critical mass of players, and that will be, in your prediction, around 40 million players, which was the number of Xbox around 2 years ago.
Exactly. Right? Because let's say that if you have a regular game that reaches 1% of the market or 5% of the market, this is a huge, like 5% is like 3% is. So you're still reaching like a small number of players, and it's really hard to get those players. If you have a premium game, which is something that you pre-purchase, like you pay for it and then you get then you get the game, and not a free-to-play game like we do have. So that's what I believe. So I'm just saying a number, but it's something that I would do this kind of math before, or I would have a great deal. That's the way I like to play with any of the other consoles or devices there is. Like, let's talk money. Let's say you give me this amount of money that will pay for the whole development and will give me enough money to keep on going, and then doesn't matter if it sells one copy or 1,000 copy
because
or
they
1 million
they
copy.
sponsor. They
Exactly.
sponsor as a
They sponsored
strategy.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they do that, that's good for me. If they don't,
I know. I got it. When you get the base of players, a good base of players. That's from the publisher point of view.
Yeah.
If there is no other agreement running in the background, to jump by your own with your own feet and stand alone on the Stadia platform to make sense to you, it needs to have more players. So the Stadia job, and that goes to the second question actually, what they need to become successful. So it's all related, I believe, that you're going to say that's all related to the number of players, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's exactly
Stadia should invest on acquiring more players, right?
Yeah.
And that's a mix of advertisement plus what you offer for them to jump on you, plus titles that are attractive, and you can say, I have it, and it's super cool and everybody's playing.
I'm playing it. Yeah, I'm playing it, and this makes sense. I always like to remind people that if you look for Shadow of Colossus, which is a game that everybody heard of or played or anything like that, this is a game that took a long time to pay itself, because it was a game that it was sponsored by Sony, and once they released the game, it didn't make enough money. If they had did that from their own pockets, it wouldn't have be profitable, and then they have to remaster it and then remaster it again to make some profit.
Gosh, it's like 3 generations.
Exactly. So
to make profit from a game, it's crazy.
Make profit from one game, it's crazy. And we are talking about one of the biggest consoles that there is. So
yeah. So just to finish, this explains why we have so many so many titles being redone. Actually, nowadays, like we see that happening because the level of investment is way lower, and you kind of leverage what it did in the past.
Yeah.
I think Nintendo masters that for several reasons, but beside Nintendo, we are seeing this is a trend on the market for several other publishers and also the consoles itself.
But it's important to say that Nintendo doesn't play any role that we ever said or talk about here in any level.
Any level, any way, they never, ever.
Just so you get it, I want to do a game for Stadia. Then Stadia, I go there, talk to the guys, and then the guys send me the controller, the way that we do a VPN to test there and stuff, and they give us the supports and say, well, now let's make some profit with it. We did our part as Stadia, as Google, to make it happen. Then I talked with Sony, and Sony said, well, come here, come to US, I'll show you the new dev kit for PS5. This is how it works. Get the dev kit, and we're gonna make this. It's gonna be amazing. Do the game like this. This is the way that it's gonna be more profitable for you. If your game is free to play, let's do this. Just don't do this kind of stuff or this kind of stuff. Our players think this way, so this is the way that it's gonna be even better for them. And it's true. All the inputs they did to our game made it better and made us make more money. And then you come to Nintendo and say, well, I'm thinking about Nintendo, and they say, well, you need to pay this upfront. Just for starters. Like, we're not starting this. We're not giving you any hardware if you don't pay for this. So we're gonna produce this, and it has this cost, and here's the bill. So they're never losing, ever. And then you say, well, we're doing a free-to-play. And they all gonna tell you, no, you're not, because this is a free-to-play. And if it's free, we're not making money up front. So just go premium. That's how it works.
Crazy.
That's why I said.
And do you think? But just to finish our conversation and finish this player 2, do you think cloud gaming will be successful? And if yes, when?
It could be. I have, you know, that I had this conversation like 1,000 times with several different developers or game guys from the industry, from Google, Sony, and things like that. I do believe that if they're given the amount of time necessary, like we're talking about 6 years, maybe one more generation, to make sure that they keep going. Like, as you mentioned, well, they just have 2 million, and maybe they will have like 3 million on Christmas. And hopefully, if they expand the brand to Latin America and Africa or whatever, maybe they'll figure they get to 10 million, let's say 20 million. Oh, that's right. In 2 years, 3 years tops. Maybe in 6 years, when the internet is better, the infrastructure and satellites and all that, maybe they start scratching something and figuring that they need to look for the developers, and some smart developer will gonna do something amazing that only cloud gaming can handle, and then this is gonna be the big switch. Like, wow, now I figured. Now it's not just a console being played on the cloud. Now it's something like you can't do anywhere else. But it's the same for I know that this is crazy from my head, but it's just like Just Dance. Just Dance only the kinetic only makes sense with Just Dance, and Just Dance is huge every time that they release something new. Every year is something, and it's happening. It's been like 10 years or 12, 15 years. It's still happening every year. It's something new coming. Music's always coming, and this is what's going to happen with the cloud gaming. Someone will find out their Just Dance
to figure out something that will only work on cloud gaming well. It can work somehow emulated in any other platforms, but on cloud gaming will work better than any other place. This thing that will be developed, maybe this thing will be the key or the turnkey on the market to make cloud gaming predominant. But before being predominant, they have to reach a level to be sustainable, right? I think that's the next level. How to be sustainable. So for you, should be around 3 years.
Yeah, around 3 years, I would say that it should reach some sort of something that you can consider not a joke.
So you think it's a joke from the developer point of view?
Right now, for me, Stadia is just a gimmick. It's the same as talking with the camera on PS4 whenever it came. Like you for example, on FIFA, you could do some substitutions in game, like saying, well, change the number 5 for number 16, or change the player A to player B. You could. No one ever used that, but you could do that. You could say to the camera, to the eye, something that was the name of the camera that they used to have, and that's how it worked.
Or like the Xbox One that should have a huge integration with TV and a new way to watch TV. In the end, nobody used for that.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
But it's a little bit different, right? Like when you say a gimmick, I think it doesn't apply right now in this way, because the game is still there, right?
Harsh.
Yeah, the game is still there. Like it's not a feature; it's like a platform. So I think you cannot compare like that. It's not fair. But as a platform, there's a many points on the business side that they need to fulfill first. I think that's the thing you are looking for to express.
Yeah, but
right?
in a way, it's just to look cool. You gotta agree with me. I can play this game. I can play Doom right now on my console. It's gonna be awesome. Or I can play on Stadia and say, look how cool I'm playing.
I'm
from
playing.
cloud.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I think it's cool just because that.
So what?
But to me, like, this is the thing.
Just because it's cool, because I
No,
can
I know. I
buy
got
the
your
disc
point.
and put it there.
I got your
Doesn't
point.
matter.
I got your point. But I feel the coolness of trying something so revolutionary. At the same time, the game is playable. It's well playable. In my point of view, just to create a conclusion from my side, and then we can finish player 2, because otherwise you're going to spend the whole night. But
yeah,
in my point of view, the strong arm of cloud gaming, no matter if it's Stadia, no matter if it's Luna from Amazon, no matter if it's Xbox, cloud gaming, pass, whatever, it's when they go to countries where people don't have the same buying power like the first world, like Europe or North America, because then that's a gaming changer. You know, it's a real game changer, because then people don't need to spend a huge amount of money just to have access to games. And then they have to buy the games, which is very expensive as well. So they can go straight to the game. You know, because the money they're going to invest is pretty little, is the controller mainly. So maybe the key for the cloud gaming is to make sure that the hardware to get in is really, really cheap, and move to those countries like Latin America, India, Southeast Asia. Those are huge markets, huge markets.
Just so you know, you just described the mobile market.
Yes, pretty much. That's the mobile market, and it's huge. Yeah, it's the biggest one. If you compare to any console, mobile market, it's way higher and bigger, just because that. But I think Stadia can bring the AAA gaming scenario to the same level of mobile market gaming. Mobile gaming and cloud gaming have to be in the same level, or bring to the same level and reach more people. So in that sense, when they expand to countries like that and regions like that, that the console is too expensive for the people to buy, they will grow their numbers very fast.
True.
And then they start to get to be interesting to other publishers, right?
They need to expand. Just to make sense, they need to expand.
Agree.
And then once they do that, then okay, now we'll start talking. That's pretty much it. Like, then we start talking with Stadia and saying, well, now show me some cool numbers, because you guys are really hard to show anything at all. And then I'll come up and with an idea, maybe only for you, and make this happen.
Chips, that's all for now. Let's go to my Portuguese channel. We're gonna restart this on my Portuguese channel, okay? My own channel. Guys, folks, thank you very much. Keep tuned for more Gamer Changer. Even today I may have posted a new video for Level Up, okay? See you soon, folks.